Hi, I'm Carrie with Spa Girl International Corporation, and I'm going to show you a few things because one, we're told that products can give you collagen, elastin in the epidermis, but actually we're going to clean this up really fast. And let's do our lines again. We got 2 down here, we got D, we got E. Up here in the epidermis, you do not have any collagen elastin whatsoever. Your collagen and elastin only exist here in the dermis. Now, in the bedding of the dermis, all throughout the dermis, you have these things called fibrocytes, and you have millions and millions, and they line the entire bed of the dermis. And when you do a removal out here, you have skin cells up here. And when you come in and do a PowerDerm treatment, okay, you're going to remove skin cells, which are called keratinocytes. But there's also something really beautiful up here called a calcium ion gradient. CIG. And it's not the removal of the skin cell, but it's the removal of the calcium ion gradient that comes over here and literally signals the brain to shoot up collagen elastin out of every one of these entire fibrocytes, which then turn to fibroblasts, because the moment they go into action, they're fibroblasts. So they shoot up. But what we haven't been told is everything's always been about collagen elastin, collagen elastin, collagen elastin. But did you know that collagen elastin only makes up 20% of your dermis? So then what's making up the 80? So when you sit back and you're thinking, okay, what's making up my 80%? When you secrete out of the fibroblasts, not only do you get the 3 peptides and the elastin 1 peptide, but you get a substance and ground substance called dermal matrix ground substance. And this is the monster that keeps you young, right there. So when you're getting older, and literally, here's what happens. The epidermis always maintains its basic shield capability. Meaning, up here in the stratum corneum, you have 20 to 30 layers. So genetically, if I was born with 24 layers of the stratum corneum, I will die at 84, 86 with 24 layers of the stratum corneum. I haven't lost that. That never leaves. My barrier, how it's composed junctionally and how it operates as a shield, genetically always stays the same. What doesn't stay the same is as you're getting older, it's not the shield that shrinks. It's actually right here in the dermis. Here is where all your youth is. So when you get older, this is what is beginning to get smaller and thin out. This is what is causing the marionettes. This is causing the hollowing out. This is causing the sagging jawline. This is what causes the lack of thickness to the skin. This is where, right here, not here, where everything resides. And beautifully, collagen and elastin, how it works is, it comes up in that little 3-to-1 peptide, but what it does is it formulates this netting structure. And inside that dermis, it creates a net that creates your integrity and structural integrity, and that's your tug and pull. But what is your filling agent is what fills in all around that netting is dermal matrix ground substance. This is the guy right here that makes you young. This is the one that thickens the cheek. This is one that folds out the marionettes, not collagen elastin. It helps because it's an integrity pull and tug, but it is not the thickening and youth agent. Dermal matrix. The only way to fill this matrix back up is by multiple revisitation. So what happens is, because we are able to do 12 treatments per month, we got 12 treatments in 30 days. So what happens is that this calcium ion gradient, once it is lowered, it has to go all the way back. So if I have 24 genetic layers and I take it down to 21, but then, and that's on a Monday, and I come back on a Thursday and I do another treatment and it hasn't grown back to 24, it's at 23, and I take it down another 2 or 3 layers. What I'm doing is I'm playing with what's called a regeneration window. And this window is critical. This window sits here, and when I don't let it come back and grow back, I now get in the dermis 30 days of push. And when it's 24 treatments, I get 60 days. And when it's 36 treatments, I get 90. So what happens is now the thinness of my dermis now begins to thicken and thicken and fill and fill and fill and fill. Now you're starting to see your youth coming back. That is the whole point to multiple revisitation. That is where it's all at. You cannot get this kind of response in a 1 treatment every 2 weeks, in a 1 treatment once a month. You can get a nice soft look for a few days till the calcium ion grows back, all the dead skin, but you can't get any more than that. Now, interesting enough, moving a little bit further, 45 days in a teenager, not a 30, not a 20, not an 40-year-old or 50, it takes 45 days right here to grow from this basal layer up to the stratum corneum. 45 days in a teenager. We kick that back in gear. The system is back to operating the way it did its teenage years. The problem is that in your 20s, you've now gone to 60. In your late 20s, you're at 70 days. 30s, you're at 80, 90, 100, 120, and the days are getting longer and longer, in which what it's called is cellular turnover. And the slower this gets, the reason it's getting slower is that your fibroblasts are bursting slow, like your skin is growing slow. So the whole system is becoming more deficient. And there's an absolute reason as to why this occurs. Now, interesting also, I'm sure your teacher has taught you, what's up here in the top layer is, you'll probably commonly understand it as a horny layer. It's also medically called desquamation. We commonly as consumers call it dead skin. It's not truly dead. But if we go back to the terminology of horny, they call it this because it is so strong. The cosmeceuticals can't pass through it. Viruses can't get through it. Bacteria can't get through it. It's smart and it's strong. It is hard like a table, built mighty. It is one of the strongest, most durable organs. You can burn it, freeze it, heat it up, sunburn it. You can do so many things to the skin, and it just protects. And it's horny like, they got that terminology from animals with tusks and how strong the tusks are. And so that's where that entire terminology came from. So if you're picturing how strong a tusk is, that's literally how strong. I mean, your skin is strong on the outside barrier because it's built up all this beauty. Now, lastly, we come into the lymphatic. This is where, this is the most important aspect to all of this, because lymphatic literally changes how all of this operates. It changes it in a homeostasis balance way of the most positive things. So primarily how the lymphatic operates is you have 2 circulatory systems of the body. You have your blood, you have your lymphatic system. They are dependent, meaning all blood flows to lymphatic, and lymphatic basically feeds all of your interstitial fluid to your face, your brain, your every organ in the body, and every skin cell in the body, and bathes every cell in the body. All your liver, your kidneys, your pancreas, your lungs, everything is nutritionally provided by way of lymphatic interstitial fluid. Interesting fact is that you have more interstitial fluid in the body than you do blood, because all blood goes to lymph, and lymph gives life to your body. So that lymphatic fluid is a necessity. If you shut down 50%, 70% in an organ of being unable to find nutrients, then from the lymphatic interstitial fluid, you'd be in the ER, and you would not feel very good at all. It would be causing you an extreme injury. So primarily how it works is in the collarbone down, your musculature, your body structure, just breathing, talking, propels and contracts and propels and contracts all that interstitial fluid all throughout the body, but not in the collarbone up. One first problem, you have no musculature of the face as you do in the body. So what happens is blood comes up and down, but right here is your cutoff. And lymphatic now trickles in. And what I mean is trickles like a faucet dripping. Drip, 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 because it can't push. It almost needs assistance to actually function properly, and we're going to find out why. You have these little things here called submandibulars, and I want you to reach up under your throat. These little guys get clogged. Then you've got these little cervical nodes all along here on the side, and they're actually all around the back, and you do have a few up in the hairline, but these little guys get clogged. It is unavoidable to clog them. Unavoidable. It is natural for them to clog, and the older you get, the worse they get clogged. So primarily what happens is that you have 26 to 32 years old, you are 50% impaired, meaning 50% fluid coming in, you're 50% blocked, and so what happens is now the fluid backs up, and 50% sits up in the face. Now, what is in that lymphatic interstitial fluid are 60 plus. I mean, within those 60 are hundreds of other nutrients. Like there are over 240 amino acids, so that's one of the 60. You have hormones, which would be your progesterone, estrogen, testosterone. There's also prolactone. You have peptides. You have hyaluronic acid, which is your natural lubricator of your body that keeps you hydrated. It is your T cells, your leukocytes, your Langerhans, vitamins, vitamin C and E, and peptides. So what happens is when it begins to sit up here and not pass out, so all fluid in the face and neck has to go by way through the submandibular, 2 cervical nodes, and all the fluid in the entire head area, neck, have to come out these 2 little ducts. So picture, lymphatic brings in the groceries and takes out the trash. So these little ducts then go to 2 ducts, go to 2 ducts. You remove toxins by excretion through urination and stool, and that is the only way to pass out all the toxins. So you even have natural cancer killer cells that are floating through your lymphatic interstitial fluid. They fly through the body, grab the cancer killer cell, come back, and actually you excrete them. So what happens is now you've got what our industry calls is stagnated fluid. That means it's sitting up in the face. Medical industry calls it something much worse. This is called decomposing toxic cellular debris. And I'm talking decomposing like a dead body. I'm talking viral, pus, bacteria, very disgusting for something to stagnate and stew. And that is what resides up in the top of the face. This is the beginning of all aging. It is the reason you stop being able to fibroblast and secrete collagen, elastin, and dermal matrix ground substance. It's the reason you stop producing cellular turnover in 45 days and go to 100, 200, 300 days. It's the reason you get 98% of all skin diseases, rosacea, seborrhea, dermatitis, acne. It's the reason you get hypopigmentation. It's the reason you get hyperpigmentation. It is the reason for every single aging deficiency in your skin. Looking at your face, it is the cause of dark circles. It's the cause of puffy eyes. It is the cause of all of every wrinkles, every single thing that you see on an older person as they're traveling and getting older. It is the cause of all of that. That is an impaired lymphatic. So what happens is when you fire this lymphatic back up, now it can bring in all the nutrients 100%, push out all the toxins, and what happens is that these beautiful little fibrocytes start pushing back and start creating all the new stem cell growth, and they will not stop. They will not stop working in their perfect environment, and that is the whole reason why we come in and we train on a perfect working epidermal structure. Just as a note, when you are 38 to 45, you are, and it's devastating because I mean this is also lymphatic, interstitial fluid provides oxygen to the skin as well. So you are 98% impaired. So you're looking at basically 2% trickling in, 98% stagnating and stewing. What it is basically doing is when you become and start getting impaired, and it can happen as early as 19, it can happen 20, genetically, it's how you are growing up in your life. In my culture, in my family, we get raccoon eyes very quickly, so we start getting an impairment very fast. Moment this begins to set in, it accelerates. The moment it begins to accelerate and set in, damage begins to deposit. So UVA, UVB sun damage from the outside sits in the skin, starts looking like freckles, more and more and more and more freckles. Wrinkling begins. Skin starts hollowing out. All of these things start occurring. So pumping the lymphatic is a necessity. And this is one of the reasons why, one, we get the results we get. If you look in our book, while it's being passed around, you will see that these are 18 treatments in 6 weeks. This is dynamic. These types of clients that we worked with are some of the hardest in the entire industry. Most people wouldn't even tackle them. We show you every day, week by week, what is going on with their skin, how it's changing, and if you even have something that is not even close to that, it is like that to remove. Very simple. Now, as a high note, going back into the alpha hydroxy acid, it's very critical. We always follow with a dermabrasion treatment, with our PowerDerm treatment. Reason being is because if you have a client who is in her 20s, 30s, or 40s, you've got basically, here's the epidermis. You got your epidermis, you have your dermis. Basically what's happening, you got your little skin cells up here, keratinocytes, desquamation, skin cells all down here. The point to glycolic is it's a very lightweight peel. But the beauty about it is it basically triggers collagen elastin. That's the whole point to it, in dermal matrix ground substance. Now, sitting here, right here, is a layer called the spinosum. And what happens is you place this glycolic, HA, parent name, on the skin. Spinosum creates, down here you got your little skin cells, and they're all like little individual people, and they're like, yay, you know. The moment they hit the spinosum, there's something that is added, and that's called a desmosome. And as it travels up to the stratum corneum, it's called a desmosome connection. And what it does is it takes all these little individual keratinocytes and it says, we're gluing you all together. We're Legoing you. We are sucking you all together. And so basically it binds them with this adhesive material. And that's how they all survive too, by way of nutrients from the interstitial fluid. It all is basically delivered by way of this junction of this adhesive material. So when you put an alpha hydroxy acid on, it's considered, I guess the simplest way to look at it is glue. But literally what the HA does is it comes in here and it clips. It clips the desmosome connection. Okay? And it also clips the CIG back to this little guy over here, calcium ion gradient, which then now you have two clipping agents, two skin generators, okay, which then come, signal the brain, and up pops collagen elastin and dermal matrix ground substance. But I want you to now think of this. If you're doing a single alpha hydroxy acid treatment and you have not done a lymphatic drainage, this is a worthless treatment. The point to alpha hydroxy acid is to not only clip this, but it's for this new stem cells, all this beauty to happen here in the dermis, to sit in a nutritionally rich environment. So if you haven't done a lymphatic drainage, you need to. You need to do it with your client. Our system, you don't have to do a dermabrasion treatment with it. You can use the infusion, attach the dermabrader attachment, pump and open up all the lymphatic drainage, now go in and do an alpha hydroxy acid treatment so that these brand new stem cells and all this new dermal matrix substance and all of this brand new youth can actually grow up properly in a nutritionally rich environment. You don't want to cause premature aging and degradation the moment you give birth to this, to the regeneration. This is not what you want. This is not what your client wants. So we have to go in, either do a lymphatic drainage with the PowerDerm system or do a dermabrasion. We obviously want to do a dermabrasion treatment because what it does is, once you've clipped the desmosome connection and the CIG, you've left now numerous layers of true dust sitting on the client's face. So therefore, it really doesn't really make any sense because the client's going to drop all of these skin cells all over the place. Why not just clean it off and give your client the smoothest, freshest baby skin and take care of it for her instead of her dropping it all over the place. So that's our alpha hydroxy acid. All right, well, thank you.